All right, just because I have a very boring life over Christmas season, holiday vacation, I watched a video of this amazing gospel singer.
Okay.
And he's down south. He's like probably around like West Virginia area, I think he said.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with our podcast group because I think it might be something that you're going to hum through the day once you hear it.
Just one of those things that gets stuck in your head.
Stuck in your head. But it's an older song, so you might not know it if you're not part of the old Pentecostal school or you're an old Baptist. But I think you're going to like it. He goes by the name of Brad Yaz. I think that might be just his handle on Instagram, but it's
Gotcha.
Song is going to be one that has made me pretty famous over the last few years.
He's famous.
It has took me a lot of places I didn't think I would be at.
Amen. That's good.
But it was the first time on stage, New Year's Eve 2002, with one of the best quartets out there today, Brian Free and Assurance.
Yeah.
And I was privileged to be able to sing this one with Brian Free. And awesome. I don't know if I beat him that night or not, but ever since then we've had competitions. I've wore him out.
It's going to be anointed. I can see that right now.
Not to
singing
make me look good or anything.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Gospel singing
But this is one that also my friends at my hometown church, Gospel Light Baptist Church in Salisbury, North Carolina.
North Carolina. There you go.
Made,
North Carolina.
Their top choice. So therefore, we're going to finish off with this one.
In his church,
Looking
he's number
for
one.
City.
Here we go.
In his church, okay.
This is get ready.
It's already getting stuck
Get
in
ready
my
to get your
head.
sock blessed
right now.
Here it is.
I didn't know you was going to start out with.
Oh, he goes. I don't know. You're going to start in that key.
Built above, looking for a city.
Oh my, I'm blessed.
Where we'll never die.
I am absolutely filled right now.
Could you imagine being in that congregation and being in that presence of that guy?
I'm picturing it in my head right now.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about somebody. He knows what he's doing. Oh, somebody's clapping there for a second. Oh, key change.
It's impressive. That falsetto, though. He had a falsetto for a second there. And I'm impressed.
He's going for it. I don't know how you cannot be blessed by this. Yep. Oh, here we go. To the next level.
Another key change. Step
Another
up.
key change. I don't even know if that's alto anymore. It's like a whole nother level. Oh my gosh.
A little B sharp there.
Pastor Gary's taking off his headphones right now. You're going to miss out the blessing part. This is really good.
Holy Spirit,
Another one?
He's going. Yeah. This is the fourth key change for him.
Not a lot of singers can do that.
No. And still sound like you're in the same key the whole time.
When you start that high up on the scale, it's hard to do that many key changes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, he had to stop there for a second. There you go. We should get him to come to Harbor Light, right?
I agree.
Pastor Gary?
Put my dad and Ted out of business.
Well, I know he's really booked up and busy, so I wouldn't even try to.
We're going to do our best, but no promises.
Is that for real?
That's for real. The thing is, if you watch the video, it's hilarious. Everybody's sitting there, and they're all just ready to hear a good gospel singer get ready to just go nuts, right? And so he's sitting up there on a stool, like getting ready to sing this song. And you heard him talking about all the people he's connected with, throwing all these names in the gospel music industry. So everybody's probably like, this is good. And then the piano player starts and you're like, oh, this is awesome. We got a really good country piano player that can play gospel music. And then he starts. And then you feel the blessing coming off that stage the whole time. I mean, it's just.
And what's really interesting is he beat somebody.
Yeah, he beat somebody in the gospel music industry. Yeah, right. Yeah. Have you ever had anybody come to the church like that?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So you're really cautious into who you let now.
We let this. My dad had this guy come one time, and he was pretty good, but when he was singing, he was standing behind the pulpit, right, singing, and he was very nonchalant while he was singing.
Oh, okay,
but he's doing a great job, right?
Yeah,
he's singing, but he would like pull out his wallet. He was kind of like thumb through family photos. He's like, "Whoa, he's like, where'd I get this receipt?" And while he's singing,
yeah,
it was the craziest thing I've ever
How great is our God.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh, hey, this much? What?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
You have found us. More podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny and make an eternal difference. Now.
Well, welcome to this week's podcast. Do you ever wonder why you take the time each week to listen to more podcasts? Because you want to hear songs like that.
Right.
Songs that you go away just blessed.
Just thinking you're listening to something that's written by Leonardo da Vinci, then you're realizing it's Picasso.
That's so true.
Gosh.
Well, I'll tell you why you do listen. MORE stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and eternity. So stop asking why you listen. Just never forget to listen and pass it on. Well, this episode has been brought to you by the Burrito Blanket. I mean, who hasn't thought to themselves in these cold winter months, I sure would love to be wrapped in a warm burrito wrapper.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time dreams. That's gonna be an acquisition of mine. I'm gonna get a burrito blanket.
Well, you can do that now. You can find it on Amazon. It's relatively cheap, about $27.
Yeah.
All you got to do is put in promo code Me Loco, Me Love My Burrito, and then you get some.
My grandkids have a pizza blanket and a couple of taco blankets and probably a quesadilla blanket. And they're warm and fuzzy and they're great, but they look like they're laying there under a piece of pizza.
Yeah, right.
Oh, gosh, that's hilarious.
I loved how when I was reading the people commenting on buying the burrito blanket, they're like, it's amazing because after you wash it 10 or 12 times, it still looks like a burrito.
Right.
Like they're expecting it to
Made
wow.
Something.
That's a sales pitch.
Okay.
So promo code Me Loco, Me Love My Burrito, and you get some money off that.
Oh yeah.
Thanks to MORE Podcast and all of our salesmen on staff, we'll take care of you. Well, the only pastor I know who can talk about eternity and make it seem like just an hour, Pastor Gary Mendel.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And sitting across the table from me right now, the man with all the buttons and knobs and the talent that goes behind all of this, my dear friend and wonderful man who comes from Chicago, Illinois area at one particular time in his ministry career, Pastor Alex Norton.
Thank you. Yeah, Chicago. We had to drive through there going to Christmas.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, at this age, when I lived there, I was in my late 20s, and going there now, it's like a totally different thing. Yeah,
Did you get Einstein bagels?
I did not. We didn't drive much. I didn't want to go anywhere.
Fair enough.
Like, let's just stay in the house.
There's 6 cheese bagels.
Is it? Oh gosh. Yeah,
I love their 6 cheese bagel.
Well, this guy that's sitting next to me here is a guy that his cooking is unique. Even the smoke alarm cheers him on with applause when he starts doing his masterpieces, culinary masterpieces, Mr. Mike Britton.
Yes, especially last night when I tried to cook my salad. Let me tell you, they were really pausing.
Last night, I got to tell you, my wife, she's on this kick now because what we do for the parent fasting, we start our fast at daybreak and then we end it at sunset.
Okay.
And so at nighttime, that's the only time we eat through the day. And so she is like, let's do healthy cooking. I'm like, no, if I've been fasting for the whole day, I want to eat something. So when I go to bed at night, I'm not like starving. And she's like, well, we do salads and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. That's not going to work. So last night she was trying to talk me into putting a salad together. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I eventually talked her into beef stroganoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was good. It was so good. I was a happy man because anything with gravy and meat. Yeah, I'm good for it. Well, let's take a ID break and be right back. You're listening to the MORE Podcast with Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex. And maybe some other high-caffeinated host. Well, I have my tweets that come in off the fax machine, which we have up here in the studio.
Oh, nice.
It's one of the few fax machines still alive.
Runs super silently. Never hear it.
You never hear it. But I have the paper hot off the press because I can't obviously look at it on my computer right now while we're in studio. But yeah. The More podcast on Christmas break is like Santa leaving you a be back soon note. Hurry back, Santa. My ears miss you. That's from Christmas Quiet.
Okay.
Well, it's nice.
That's
I mean,
sweet.
we're
That's
glad to be
sweet.
back from Christmas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got a few more episodes in
Happy
us.
New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year 2020. Did you guys stay up for New Year at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I went right to bed.
Yep.
As soon as it struck 12:06, I was out.
Oh, you were out already.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were in there already. I mean, you probably went to bed like at 7.
Yeah, maybe stayed up till 8.
Oh, it's a long night. Yeah. I think we stayed up to about
Party
10
animal
and
over here.
I'm like, we're going to bed. So I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. Another one on the More podcast, I saw on social that Pastor Alex is taking the Lions loss harder than my grandma takes losing at bingo. Serious business,
stupid.
Lion loss saga. Yeah.
That was stupid.
It took a lot of prayer to get over my anger.
A lot of perseverance.
A lot of perseverance. Yeah. I felt happy for all the Michiganders who won University of Michigan game.
Yes.
They were
Go
all
Blue.
that. But I was
One of the
grieving.
only times you'll ever hear me say "Go Blue."
But I was grieving really bad through that whole thing. You got to feel happy for other people,
Absolutely.
but for yourself, you're kind of like, I just don't feel it.
At the same time, those colors, no.
I have only heard about the game. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
It was
but
a
I heard
really
was
good game.
Yeah.
It was like a referees or umpires took it away.
Oh,
Yeah. Everybody's saying it was shady, and then the thing is,
Yeah.
that's usually the fans are going to say it anyways if you
Right.
lose.
Yeah.
But then when you have all of these hosts on ESPN and all these guys are like, that was messed up.
And then you hear that they're definitely out of the running for the NFL 2024 playoffs.
Right. They kicked them
Like
out.
they're out.
The whole
the refs.
the whole
The refs.
referee staff that's
okay.
under that guy.
That game, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Brady Allen or something?
Yeah. Edward Allen. Is it
yeah.
Edward or Edward Brady or
Edward.
something Edward?
Something Allen, something
We
Brady.
don't want
I
to
know.
talk about that guy.
We don't know his name because we don't care about
Well,
him.
he's out. He's out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was stupid because you can obviously see from the video that 68
soon
and
as
70 went up to him.
And 68 just got out to him, and right as he was getting up to him, the ref started running off.
Yeah.
He's like, okay,
It's very obvious that he
didn't care.
didn't care and he heard him say it, but then said he didn't hear him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these guys are trying to look up the stats on when that last happened in a game, and nobody can find anything about it for the eligibility violation.
Yeah.
So like nobody has ever seen this happen before. And so this guy pulled it out of somewhere, some ancient book that the referees have, that it does exist. It's an actual rule.
Yeah.
But there's no NFL player that's getting paid $25 million a game that's going to go out like a high schooler and forget to do it. I mean, they're going to go out and do it. And
You can
he
see-
did it.
You can see him clearly, like kind of give him a signal.
Yeah.
Silently and kind of like hushed. Like, hey, it's me. I'm the one who's going to catch it.
Right.
Or I'm one of the people that's going to catch it.
Right.
You can clearly see it on the video.
And they had the conversation prior to the game because
Yeah.
Dan Campbell said he went and shared all the trick plays they're going to do for the game.
Right.
Which is a common thing apparently in the NFL. Yeah,
I didn't know.
So they let the referees know this could happen.
So it is scripted.
So be prepared that you might see this happen in a game. This is what it looks like, and then they have to approve it. So this referee's signature is on the approval list for the tricks. So he's like, these are all kosher. You can go ahead and use them. So, anyways, it's bad.
It was very bad.
I don't know if you heard or not, but the Michigan Wolverines just won. Somewhere out there, a Spartan is quietly turning their gear into dish rags right now. Yeah. That's from Go Blue. This is probably from Ted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is
It seemed
Ted
like
tweet.
it seemed like praise and worship was extra anointed this weekend.
Yeah,
It did.
He was
from
really
what I
on
saw in the
fire.
video. Yeah, he
On
was
fire.
really, really excited about worship. So I don't know. Maybe whatever Holy Spirit uses to encourage you to worship, whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm smiling right now, but I'm crying on the inside.
The whole time I'm thinking, "Blessed be your name." In the second verse,
I will praise
when I'm in the
you
desert.
storm.
Yeah, as I'm crying. Let's take 90 Brit.
Oh, don't go nowhere. More podcasts, there's more to say. Get your feet moving. Get up from your office desk and start jiggling it. Yes, let's do this. You're on the More Podcast. We'll be right back.
Whenever we play that ID break, I think to myself, I can see Lyndon Murray. at her office desk, getting up at that point and just dancing for a minute, you know, as a little break.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the Detroit Lions. We just did a little bit, but I wanted to give you some other information. No matter how controversial or flat out wrong the officiating was at the end of the Detroit Lions.
Which they were.
Yeah, which they were. Saturday night clash with the Dallas Cowgirls. The result is the result. The Lions lost the game and dropped to 11-5 on the season. And so with the loss, the Lions' shot at the number 1 overall seed is a pretty big, long shot. And even earning the 2nd seed feels extremely unlikely now. Now, if you're wondering how could they get to a number 1 seed or a number 2 seed, some of the experts that are greater than myself figured this out. Simply put, the Lions will need to finish with a better record than all 3 teams unless they can somehow flip that Eagles tiebreaker, which happened. And so here's what needs to happen. The Lions need to beat the Vikings. This is the perfect scenario. 49ers lose to Commanders and the Rams. Cowboys, which is not going to happen. You're talking the Commanders. I mean, for one, they're not going to lose to the Commanders. Cowboys lose to the Commanders, and then Eagles lose to Cardinals or Giants, and they have to probably have a loss in both to really move them up. To take the 2nd overall seed, there are a couple different ways that this can happen. The easiest that the NFC East teams will have to lose out, which I don't see that happening. But the Lions basically have to beat the Vikings again. Cowboys lose the Commanders, which is not going to happen. Well, they don't do very well on the road, though.
Yeah, but you also never know until the last whistle blows.
That's true. And
anything's up for grabs.
the Cowboys never play well statistically on the road.
True.
So, and then the Eagles lose to Cardinals and the Giants. And if that case happens, then both the Eagles and Cowboys finish at 11-6 to the Lions 12-5, and then yada yada yada. You might have a 1 or 2 seed possible, but that's like the miracles of the Bible right there to have that happen.
Do you not believe in miracles?
At this point, you got to earn it, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can't lose to the Bears.
No.
And the Vikings.
Right.
True.
And expect to be the number
Absolutely
1 seed.
not the Bears and the Vikings.
Just
Although I'm a little, I'm not a big Vikings guy. I don't like a lot of what stuff they do, but Cousins got a great testimony.
Sure. He's amazing.
So as a Christian, it's kind of hard. I feel kind of
So I feel you, brother, but
I pull for him.
Yeah.
When they play,
but when they play against the Lions, it's kind of like I feel divided. It's a divided house.
Nah, I still go for the Lions.
You still go for
always the Lions. I'm rooting for your Cousins, but I hope you
praying for your brother.
Interception right now.
Praying for your brother, but you're going down. Once Hutchinson gets out there, you're going down.
Yes.
So it's interesting. Some of the conspiracy theories around that game was interesting. They basically said that, because Jerry Jones was doing the Dallas nominations for inductees, that they didn't want to suffer loss in such an atmosphere. And so a lot of people are like, they paid him off, or the referees are being paid off.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I thought that was an interesting conspiracy theory.
Or possibly the referee had invested interest in that as well.
Yeah.
Not just being bought off, but possibly some other motivation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens.
We never know.
At least at least justice somewhat is served, because they are not going to be being a part of the playoff. Let's take an ID break. We'll be right back.
We want you to know God more deeply. Find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. More podcasts.
Well, it's a busy morning. Tweets keep coming in. If you're wondering why it sounds like you're just coming into a radio show, it's because basically we've been on for 3 hours already.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a 4-hour radio show. Yeah. So we just come into it, and you just happen to get the last hour, which is some of our best stuff.
Right.
Right. So
I do predict in the future that we are going to do this live on video.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the fax machine is going to have to be maybe a little more apparent than what we have right now. But I'm just saying,
it'd be a real fax machine.
We got a little more time to fake it. Go ahead.
They might have one in like a Goodwill.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find one.
Probably.
And then we could get a little remote control and then make it move when we need it,
Just don't you mean we already have one?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we already have one.
We don't need to go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't need. We've already got it. Yeah, so we just pull it out. If laughter burned calories, the more podcast would be my weekly workout routine. This is fitness through laughter. This is I know this.
I'm about that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I wish I could burn calories like that. The More Podcast, where I go to learn, laugh, and occasionally question my life choices. You know what? That is so true. How many of us have that happen when we listen to More Podcasts? You wonder
Especially
why
those Cheetos protectors on our fingers.
Right, yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
See, it's coming. You got some more coming in right now.
PTSD.
See that? Yeah. That's why we don't always, we try to turn it down when we're in the studio because, I mean, it's going to be noisy. But there you go. It's proof. Proof we have a fax machine in the studio. Last tweet here is, did someone forget to tell Pastor Amy that the More Podcast isn't the same without her enlightening perspectives? Oh, we miss you.
Is that one signed Pastor Alex?
Yeah, right. I don't know what you're talking about,
Brownie
Pastor
points.
Gary.
I like
I don't know what you're talking about. So I wanted to talk to you about some interesting things about New Year's resolutions and some of the things that fail every year. We're going to take an ID break and we'll be right back. Cool.
More Podcast, where curiosity meets insight. Tune in, delve deeper, and discover more.
All right, so New Year's resolutions from 2022 that failed, that people have been graciously willing to give to us on the internet so we can laugh with them.
Right.
But did you guys make any New Year's resolutions last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they all went through the floorboards into the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
They usually do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The resolution is normally you're not going to make the resolution. You know, it's just not going to be good. I think, you know, the statistics are, it's funny to see the statistics of people that say they're going to buy a gym membership on January 2nd.
Right.
And then they buy it and then how long it lasts. And Planet Fitness put out a statistic of that.
Month at most.
Yeah. Just about a month that people hold on to their membership.
3.5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. And then they're done.
Yeah,
And then,
they're done.
you know, we're taught that 40 days is the new habit.
Right.
It's at the 40 days. And so they just don't make it right to the right brink
No.
of the new habit.
True.
Yeah, well, you know, and it's funny how people are like, I'm gonna get up early in the morning before I go to work, and then it's like, I'll do it after work, and then I'll do it once a week, 3 times a week. You know, it's like, forget it. I've done that
every day. Okay, I'll do it 4 days a week. Okay, I'll go once a week. I need to go to the fridge.
That's right. I used to be one of those. When I was younger, I used to get a gym membership and go in there and walk around and look at what equipment was there and realize that none of it makes sense to me, and I'm out of here. It was always bad though, because I go in there and I'm thinking when I was younger, I felt like I was kind of fit. And then I get in there and I'm looking at all these guys that are like buff, and I'm like, I don't want to be right. I'm just gonna go home. All right. So some of the things that showed up on the internet about New Year's resolutions that people made that didn't really go well. Somebody actually vowed that they would communicate exclusively in memes for the entire year.
Did they actually do it?
No, this is all fails.
Oh, gosh.
They failed at it.
That would have been epic.
I was trying to think how that's even possible. I mean, I can see how you could do it on social media and on your texting,
Right.
but you know, maybe that's what they meant. I don't know.
I think that's
yeah.
I think that's how they meant, because it's hard to do memes unless it's like quoting a certain meme.
Yeah,
Like from Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi dropping down behind Grievous.
yeah,
Hello there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah,
Other than that, it's very hard to do.
So you'd have to use the social media thing. So
Yeah.
so they failed at that one. Here's another one that a lot of people in this one. I will finish all the DIY projects I started and abandoned in 2022.
That should be my dad's.
Yeah. There's a guy that has a picture up showing all the projects he has sitting on in his garage on this bench. Things that he started and never got done. I know that Pastor Gary, you're not like that, because you're just like, take it, you go for it. Yeah, you're committed.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah, I wish I had that. I'm not. When it comes to those kind of things, I am not committed. When it comes to like music and that kind of stuff, I'm in it. But when it comes to like doing stuff in my house, there's like this fear I have. Like right now, I have to put tile up on the wall for our kitchen.
Okay.
And for the backwash and stuff. And you know, Tommy Good came over and showed me how to do it.
Great.
I understand how to do it.
Yeah.
It's the fear of doing it and doing it wrong.
Yep.
You know, and then I don't know how to fix my mistake. And so that's what my fear is. And so it's keeping me from doing this. But there's probably a lot of people do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, he had some DIY projects that he did while we were down there for Christmas. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. You like just decided to do this? He's like, no, I've been sitting on this for 6 months. And he finally started doing it. I'm like, you got to do it now?
Yeah, I do have one little thing like that. I bought a CNC machine back in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe early fall. And it's in the garage. It's all set and ready. But I have I get through the 21 days of prayer and fasting, and then I'm going to devote myself to learning the CNC machine.
Yeah.
Get cranking out some stuff. So I do have kind of the ability to put something there and just say, okay, here's the forecast. Here's what I want to get to it. And I do pretty good at sticking to those things.
Yeah.
So
that's good, though.
It's going to be a steep learning curve and all that, but it'll be a good time.
I had a brief exposure to CNC machines when I worked at Lexolite.
Oh, yeah.
So they put me in the tool and die department a little bit. And so every now and then what would happen is they would call me back there because I was one of the managers. Call me back there and they say, we just want you to watch this door while I go take a lunch break or have to go to the bathroom or whatever. Don't touch anything and just stand here and make sure that everything's going like it should.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So that was it. That was basically my training right there.
Okay.
Right.
It's just stand there and watch the machine do its job and then just, yell if something starts going wrong.
Right.
So I consider myself an expert. I don't know. At least that's what I tell my wife when I come home. I'm like, I'm trained on the CNC now,
No big deal. It's almost as good as being forklift certified.
Another one is I will be unashamed about the fact that I wear pajamas in public. So somebody made that. Well, yeah,
I'm not ashamed.
you are not ashamed.
I have almost zero shame.
You would be one of these people who'd be like, I did it. 2022, I did it.
Heck yes, princess.
I think there are a lot of people with you because whenever I go to Walmart at like 10 o'clock,
Dude, Walmart is the pajama people.
people are walking around in pajamas. I'm like, what is going on?
There used to be a website that was the people of Walmart. And
Yeah.
I loved it. It was I saw a woman with a mullet and tie-dyed muumuu
Yeah.
and she was kind of tall. She's probably about your height
Yeah.
and about your size. She was a little hefty.
Did you hear him just say fat but nicely?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're husky.
Husky. Yeah, right.
And on her arm was this skinny little dude with a rat tail. And it was here in Petoskey, and I was like, you don't see that around here. You usually see that down in like Tennessee, West Virginia. You don't see rat tails anymore.
It had to be in the summer, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going out like that.
No.
So, yeah, this is a fail for somebody. They wanted to do that. Another one, and this one I think my wife and anybody that's gone on a mission trip can relate to. I will learn a language that I never planned to use,
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I think most of the ones that I've been in meetings with for Amy, there's always somebody that's really excited about trying to learn some of the language, and then they start, and then when they get ready for the trip, they're like, I quit like after a week, It's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually how it goes.
Great intentions, but yeah. So that was another fail. I just don't do that to yourself. I mean, when you're talking about a language, it's
Just do what Pastor Gary does.
yeah,
One project at a time.
one project at a time. Yeah.
Then plan out for your next project, but focus on that one project.
But some of these languages don't make any sense.
Russian.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Russian doesn't. Indonesian. They tried to teach us Indonesian before we got there, and it's like seriously, it sounds like Jar Jar Binks talking.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad.
So does Thai.
Yeah.
Taiwanese.
I could not get it.
Thailand. It just sounds so foreign to me.
And the frustrating thing was
obvious, but
when they would say, repeat this phrase, and I would repeat the phrase, and I'm thinking to myself, it sounds good. They're like, you didn't
say it right.
You didn't say it right. That does not make any sense. I'm like,
yeah.
What the heck? Okay. Another one is they said, I will start a no regrets club, and they failed at it.
Okay.
So
I bet
apparently,
they regret that now.
apparently it's a year of regrets for this person, and
No regrets.
no regrets.
Get that tattooed on you.
No regrets, buddy. No regrets. Yeah.
None.
And then the last one is I will stop lying to myself about New Year's resolutions every year. I think that's probably the one that most of us can handle, and we probably should, right?
What was it again?
It says I will stop lying to myself about New Year's resolutions every year.
Nice.
The fact is that you make them every year, and then you don't follow through
My
it.
New Year's resolution is to stop making New Year's resolutions.
That's right. That would be mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be mine. I'm just going to stop making them because why? Yeah. Well, we're going to get ready for the Rapture News. We're right back.
Cool.
Get Rapture ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead and more.
This should be a New Year's resolution to change this theme song.
Ooh.
Try it different.
No,
don't do
Pastor
it.
Gary?
Don't mess with it.
It's good.
It's good the way it is, yeah. Well, this week in the Rapture Ready News, it's an interesting story. A pastor in China is facing false charges. The government's really ramping it up against him. It just came out the first of the year. Hao Ming, a leader with Di Yang Quinca OD, here we go, learn a new language, of the Reformed Church, who was in prison under charges of fraud after his house church refused to join China's state-controlled body that regulates Protestant churches, has refused to confess his crime and accept the charges in exchange for his release. According to an update from China Aid, a U.S.-based Christian rights organization, authorities with Chinese Communist Party are urging Hao Ming, an elder with Di Yang, and I'm not going to say the last name, of the Reformed Church, to confess and accept the charges, assuring release if he changes lawyers. However, he has declined the proposal. Hao Ming and another church elder, Wu Jiannan, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing because this is a bad situation, but those names are hard. Were detained by Di Yang police on November 17, 2021, along with several church members. 2 days later, both elders were criminally detained on fraud charges while the others were released. And then on December 25th, 2021, their families received arrest notices also alleging fraud. In early December 2022, their trial commenced at Jinyang District Court in Dingyang City, facing fraud charges involving approximately 560,000 yen. Is it yen? Yen. Yeah. Which is around $79,000 in American money and 10 years in jail. So basically, this guy is not giving in to the communist church. And so they're bringing up fraud charges and saying that he embezzled $79,000, which apparently to the article I was reading further, they don't even have, nobody in the church has that kind of money. Wow. So, yeah. So there's like trumped up charges the whole way through. And so January 1st, 2023, basically it's an update saying that he's still in jail for these fraud charges and the government's still trying to get him to give in to.
Hey, when has the Chinese government ever lied?
Right, of course. Right. And
they know what they're talking about.
What's wrong with a socialist or a communist
Peoples of China?
Yeah, communist church. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Yeah. It's interesting because the communist church in China, basically, they've rewritten the Bible to encompass their beliefs, political beliefs and ideology. And so they're trying to get all these churches to...
Kind of like what Kim Jong-un did with all education in North Korea?
Yeah.
Like how he proved that 2 + 2 isn't 4 or something like that?
Yeah. It does. I mean, if you look at it the way he looked at it, it makes total sense.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, 2 + 2 = fish.
Right. Well, we had that for a while too with Obama math.
True. Bidenomics.
Yeah, Bidenomics. Yeah, you got that too. But I mean, just the cubes. You remember the cubes? Cube math?
Oh, I hate cube math.
I was like, what? Because when we went to school, you had to memorize the multiplication table.
Right.
Yeah.
That was part of it. And all this other stuff to get you prepared. Well, Obama, I remember being in some of the cities in the southern region where kids were sent home with a bag of cube sticks and cubes and stuff. That's how they did the math. And it was like a whole new thing. And I'm sitting there going, for all that work you're doing to try to figure that out, let me show you a real easy way that I learned from, Coach Hewitt, back in the day.
Right.
Can't go wrong with Coach Hewitt.
Yeah, right. So we definitely need to pray for this pastor, this poor pastor's going through it.
Absolutely.
And his family, I mean, they're all, they don't have the money to pay this fraud charge. So they're likely going to find themselves finally being accused and put in jail for 10 years, which, from what I understand, Christian people in Chinese prisons are not treated well. And so we need to pray for Pastor Hao Ming and his family, and just be praying that God brings him freedom somehow. Also, they're saying that over 200 churches a day, house churches, are being shut down by the Chinese police. So they find them, shut them down, and they start up somewhere else and shut them down. So it's 200 a day is what they're saying, according to China Aid. That's happening.
200 a day.
You got any thoughts on that? Great leader, pastor?
No, we just got to keep praying for the underground church there.
Yeah.
It's thriving. It's doing good. Yeah. And we know that anytime that persecution comes against the church, it leaves the church in a more powerful, pure state, more passionate to follow God. So what the enemy means for evil, God will always turn it and make something out of it.
Amen.
So we need to pray. It's legit. They're going to prison for years. It's trumped up.
Yeah. I mean, that whole thing is just a trumped up charge.
It really is.
Yeah, there's no way they'd be able to afford to take care of that. And like you said, and to the China Aid, they don't have that kind of money. No. So I don't know where they're talking about embezzlement. Let's take an ID break, and we will be right back with Harbor Light Bible Trivia.
Woohoo!
Woo! Wait, you just jumped into a whole hornet's nest of awesomeness. I'm just saying right now. You better get yourself ready because we got more stuff for you on the Mo Podcast. Louise, come on. Get over here because we're getting ready for the Mo Podcast.
I can't believe it's Bible trivia time. I mean, it seems like it's been a long time since last time.
It's been a long time.
We got rid of those awesome gifts that you gave to the More Podcast salespeople.
We were able to bless a couple of people with that. And Linda Murray, I hear that she got the Spurtle made out of made hand carved out of black walnut.
Sweet.
And
that's cool stuff.
It also makes for a really good coffee stirring stick.
Yeah.
As well as porridge. If
Yeah.
you're into porridge, you can use it for that. It's a
Love porridge.
Scottish instrument for stirring
I
porridge.
eat it. Yeah.
So, anyways, and then Lisa Kay made some nut clusters with dark chocolate and gave them out to Alan Kaburski, right? And so he was pretty happy too. And
made his Christmas.
I did quality control check a couple of them before
Of course,
they went out.
of course.
They were good stuff.
I would do that. I definitely would do that.
What do we have coming up in the next month for the big giveaway?
We've got to work on that.
Okay.
As we affectionately call you around here, Pastor Pocketbook, we got to talk about what we're going to do. I think
we get to work in the shop.
Yeah. We could do that. We also can, if you want, we could print off some more podcast shirts because we really only printed off 3 last time we did it.
Oh, yeah.
Big run.
Yeah, we did a real big run just to see if we liked them or not. So we could print off a couple more of those. We could talk to our connection with the Chinese sweatshops, Pastor Matt, see if we can get some more put together.
Yeah.
And get some, ready to go if you want to do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, people would love those.
Okay.
I mean,
do you think the hats were okay?
The hats were awesome.
Yeah, I got a few more hats I could do up.
But I'm thinking, I think because, we are a frugal podcast and because we want to, work with the Lord's money the way it should, I think we are saving a lot of this now for the main question. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Because the giving it away every week, we ran out of stuff like as soon as we got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sean Meyer gave us a whole bunch of stuff and that went super quick.
And we'll never forget the little Jesus dolls that came up.
The Jesus dolls. They were a big thing.
Yeah.
For people that never listened to the podcast. Yeah.
I might have a couple things that we just found yesterday. So I got some stuff I'll bring in.
Yeah.
Sweet.
This
got some stuff. Don't worry about it.
This is the commitment to a Goodwill version of the podcast where we just bring stuff in. We have a fax machine that we're giving away.
This was yeah. There you go.
The official More Podcast fax machine. But people like that kind of memorabilia, when they get that stuff. And I think we should get some hats and shirts together because we need to have people walking around with that stuff. Did you notice our More Podcast decal over by the Coffee Connection?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, you should look over there.
Okay.
We got a decal over there. All right, so we didn't have a question before we left for Christmas break.
Right, but now
we do.
We're starting a brand new series this coming Sunday, and it's called the Real Lord's Prayer. That's the name. The Real Lord's Prayer.
This is good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my question is going to be based on my talk that's coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
And what happens to branches that are cut off? So what happens to branches that are cut off in John when we give the reference area?
Yeah, just the general chapter.
Okay, yeah. John chapter 17. What happens to branches that get cut
Yeah.
off?
Used for switches.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what would happen. Yeah.
Mike.
My bad. Yeah, you make them into toothpicks. At Pastor Gary's house, he puts them on his lathe and makes them into toothpicks. That's
there you
what
go.
he does. Yeah.
Custom turned
toothpicks.
Well,
pretty big, but
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, if you want to be a part of this, all you have to do is write your answer into HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, and let us know your answer. I was thinking, what we should do too? Somehow, if we could, create a Sunday bingo that we could use for the More Podcast, but it would happen during Sunday service. Listen to your sermon.
Okay.
And people could go through it and then
and then yell out bingo when they get.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. No. Okay. What they can do is just email us with their the first one that emails us with the right the right information.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be kind of fun. And then it would be fun. Maybe people, listen even more intently to the service because they're waiting for you to say certain phrases or certain letters and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I think it'd be kind of fun.
That does sound like fun.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Or they can find me at the service after the service and give me their paper. The first one gives me their paper. Boom. You're the winner. Bob's your uncle. I learned that phrase.
Bob's your uncle? Nice.
Yeah.
And there's the rub.
I don't know if my brother-in-law kept saying it a lot, but he kept saying, and Bob's your uncle. Yeah. And I'm like, what does that mean? Have you ever heard that before?
Just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
England, probably.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Bob your uncle. I'm going to look that up.
Kevin, Bob's your uncle.
Well, we're going to get ready for Bible Talk and be right back. Well, Pastor Hunter Kilpatrick spoke last Sunday about good fruit, and he talked about what does that look like for Christians. He said it all comes down to us being connected, dependent, and consistent with our relationship with Christ and with others. So what kind of fruit are you producing? Well, in John 15:4, we read these words, "Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." It's a lot of good information there, trying to understand who Jesus is expecting us to be as his followers. I've often thought that was probably the best expression that Jesus gave us. Trying to understand this discipleship, relationship with Christ. What does it really mean? And so for me, I've read John 15 a lot because it's just one of those things that you just kind of want to refresh yourself with. Yeah. But Jesus is really upfront about it. He's really upfront about what he's looking for. And although he uses these illustrations of vines and branches and all this other stuff, fruit, it really does seem to make sense when you think about the Christian experience, because other disciples talked about it. Paul talks about it in Galatians 5. But fruit seems to be a big thing to help us understand how it works, because I think we all can relate with that. Yeah. So, Pastor Gary, I wanted to kind of do a little Bible discussion because we weren't able to get Hunter in the studio. So I thought we'd do a little deep dive in this. I want to look at verses 1 through 11 about this idea of the true vine.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it once you read it here. But I wanted to read John 15, 1 through 11, and then we'll talk about it in just a minute.
Sure. All right. So here we go. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do produce fruit so that they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I've given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and if you cannot bear fruit unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like useless branches and withers. So the branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me, and in my words remain in you, you may also ask for anything you want, and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great joy to my Father. I have loved you even as my Father has loved me. Remain in me, my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, isn't there? Mm-hmm. But there's interesting symbolism that Jesus uses. He kind of breaks it down on two different people are being represented here, right?
Yes.
So we got Jesus, and then we got people that he's calling us as believers or followers. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just state the obvious, Pastor Gary. Who is Jesus in this section?
Well, he is the true grapevine. So he's the one that supplies the sap and supplies the nourishment that we need as believers.
Yeah. Why? Why do you think that symbolism is used for him? I mean, you just mentioned some things there, but I mean, Jesus considers himself to be the main trunk or the main section of what's happening with the fruit. Mm-hmm. Why do you think Jesus puts him in that position instead of saying something else? Why was that so important, crucial?
Why didn't he take the role of the gardener?
Right, yeah.
That might make a little more sense to us. But, it's through Christ Jesus that we have access to the Father. It's so we've been grafted in. Mm-hmm. This connection point is through Christ Jesus. And so I think that's why he calls himself the grapevine, and then we're the branches, and we're the extension of who he is towards the world. And so I think that, to me, seems to make the most sense.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that too?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I think it's really focused around this idea of the connection, right? Mm-hmm. It's the most intimate aspect of the tree, creating the fruit. That branch is the main source of bringing everything that's needed to make that fruit happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anywhere else. You don't grow grapes in the side of the tree or what would you call it, coming out of the ground? That's still a vine?
Yeah, that's the vine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The main trunk of the vine. You don't see that happening. It comes out at the end of the branches. So
correct.
It's a very intimate connection point. I think that was very interesting.
I don't know if people know this, but I have a small vineyard myself.
Yeah.
We have about 40, I think somewhere in the 40 range of vines, and right out in our front area. And this last year was just a bumper crop, just
really
great.
Nice.
Yeah, we took we picked a whole bunch that we pressed down, and so we didn't do the traditional model of getting Lisa in the bucket with the bare feet, but
They play a little guitar while she's doing it. Yeah,
I do have some friends that actually their wives do that, but we put it in an apple cider press, and then we pressed out the grapes that way, and so we got about 11 gallons of concentrated grape juice, and so it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I think I've had some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
just
had
give
it
me a
here
jug
at
of
Harbor
it.
Light lots of times over the years when it comes to communion.
Yeah.
Especially around the 21 days of prayer and fasting, we'll have
Are we gonna do it?
communion at the end with this grape juice that we've made.
Right. Yeah. Well, nothing compared to the communion that we had in staff meeting.
Yes, we had
Grape
very
juice and-
interesting.
yeah.
What was that? Grape juice? No, what did we have that day?
We had that stuff from Indonesia, the water.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was turned to
that's
wine.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the other element, which was a cookie.
Yeah, I think it was cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the best. Mm-hmm. That was the most memorable. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you're talking about communion like that,
Yeah.
it takes it another level. Yeah. That's super awesome. So the believer are the branches. Jesus is the vine, and the believers are the branches of the things that come off of that create the fruit. So it's interesting because that branch, if it's not doing well, it's not going to grow fruit regardless of the vine that's coming from. Right.
Yes.
So that branch is, could be dead, from your experience with the grape. So there's a lot of symbolism there.
Yes.
Like what that means.
Isn't it
Yeah.
funny that we find, God's the gardener. He's the one that does the pruning.
Yeah.
Then we have the main vine, that is Jesus, and then we are the branches, and then the branches fall into one of two categories.
Yeah.
There's the ones that produce fruit and the ones that don't.
Right.
Right. Yeah. There's no middle ground. You're either producing fruit or not producing fruit.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of interesting. So there are believers who don't produce fruit, but Jesus has a lot of words to say to them.
Yeah.
If you're not producing fruit, and he has a lot of encouragement for those that are.
Then
So we want to be obviously the people that are producing fruit.
And it's very interesting when you think about that one part of the verse where it says that he loves you just as he has loved me, and and when we're talking about pruning, and all that, and then cutting away the dead branches and pruning so we grow more fruit. I think it's a little bit more what's the word? Meaningful, I guess.
Yeah.
It takes on a whole new meaning, even though it doesn't seem like it. It seems like we're being cut off from the branch.
Yeah.
But we're not. It's actually helping us grow.
Yeah, because then it's kind of like
Yeah, that's
I know
really
what you're
powerful.
saying. Yeah.
So let me talk to you a little bit about my experience this last year. So in the springtime, that's when you do most of your pruning, and so you prune up any of the branches that seem wild or kind of going all over the place, because they grow a lot when you're not paying attention.
Right.
And so they're all over the place. So you prune them up. And in the springtime, what you have is the main vine, and you have these little nubbies sticking off, and you kind of plan out where the nubbies are going to be, and because you have a certain harvesting ladder that you want them to stay on.
Okay. Yeah.
And so at the end of the pruning in the springtime, you've got this giant pile of branches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, then you're going to get little bitty grapes or little bitty or none at all. Right. And so when you walk away after pruning, it looks like you just destroyed this vine. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
But when it kicks in, it really starts growing, and it will grow. 10 feet is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And they'll produce lots of fruit when you do that. So pruning helps produce more fruit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like
It's
that.
kind of crazy. Like you said, it seems a little bit backwards.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, because you're walking away and you're like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah, I just
kill it?
destroyed
Yeah.
this thing.
I think that speaks to the idea that a lot of translations say abiding in Christ, which is this unspoken trust that the plant has with the gardener, that what they have to do is important for its overall health. And you do that when you abide in Christ. You realize that my connection, my trust in this process is better for me in the future. And the branch never, I don't think any of the vines are talking to you, or branches, maybe sometimes, I don't know.
No.
But yeah, the whole idea of abiding is then this idea of I'm trusting the gardener to do what he needs to do. And so I'm stepping back as a branch and allowing God to remove what needs to be removed, prepare so I can grow the proper way and move
So
mature.
let me ask you two guys. So what does pruning look like in your life? What is God doing to help produce more effective, good, healthy fruit? What pruning have you been through in your lives that you would like to recognize that God did something?
Yeah. Mike, what do you got? You got anything?
Oh, me first. Okay,
Yeah,
put
go
me on
ahead.
the spot. Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot because I'm taking the drink.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'd say opening up my eyes and about a lot of things, especially after my grandmother passed away right before Thanksgiving last year. Put a lot of things into perspective. And then I lost all the weight, and then I gained all the weight, and I've been thinking about it the past few weeks and past month, and he's shown me a lot of growth and also the areas where I do need to grow more.
Yeah.
And patience is one of them. Being slow to anger, being more forgiving and kindness.
Yeah.
So I think he's done a lot for me just in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. I think, for me, I mean, I've just really been, because I'm a weirdo, I started looking at some of the old things that are happening in the church as far as prayer time, getting ready for prayer. And I just kept noticing over and over again the power of confession, that, to sit before the Lord or to pray at some point to yourself, but you're not just praying in the sense of I'm asking God for something or I'm praying for someone else, but the vulnerable part of it where I say, okay, I need to confess this or whatever it is. And then some of the confessions are really, particular, like pray for this thing, whatever it is, and we've mentioned before how the Holy Spirit brings stuff back to your mind of things that need to be fixed. Yeah. I just think that this act of confession is so important. We talked about it today in prayer time, how important it is. I think sometimes, at least I've noticed in my own life, I'm sure everybody else maybe would understand what I'm saying, but we kind of overlook it, right? Maybe we say, I'm sorry, God, kind of move on. But an act of confession is not just you saying my bad, and I'm okay, God, I made a mistake, sorry. But the act of confession is always with contrition. There's always some physical result that happens from it. Like, so when I get up from that place of confession, I'm going to go make it right. We got to do something to make it right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that the healing begins to happen, is when the confession is activated by action.
Right.
Because I can believe through God's grace and mercy that he has forgiven me.
Yeah, sure.
But if I just keep that a private thing, what's really being changed? Really, I've made the damage or caused the problem. Now I need to fix it.
Right, because most of the sins that we participate in, even though we think maybe they're isolated just to us, they do affect our family or our friends or our church. And the Bible actually says when one part of the body hurts or messes up, it affects the whole.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A little sin affects the whole lump.
Right.
And so we think we've got this thing isolated, but it hasn't. And so it's very true that I confess my sins to the Lord. He forgives me immediately, but there's still some work that needs to be done to reconcile with the people that I've affected.
Yeah.
It's hard to see other people's, the consequences of your actions that affects other people with horse blinders on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
Very hard.
That's very good. Yeah. Because you can go back and think of a time where some sin that you've allowed to take root or to be affecting your life will affect other people through your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, all those things affect other people. Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And, even though you're saying, well, they weren't really a part of what I did wrong. The fact is it does affect other people, and
And it's a good motivator that I use occasionally when I'm tempted to do or say something that I shouldn't, then I realize that this is going to cost the people that I love the most.
Right.
It's going to cost them in some way. And so it kind of helps, put the harness on things a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well, because one thing we all know, our mouth gets in trouble. I mean, we say things offhand sometimes, and
so
don't mean to.
Speaking about pruning, there's another aspect of pruning that I think that we should take into mind. There are certain times in our lives where maybe something gets eliminated, maybe a hobby or some type of an activity that we're involved in. Because of whatever reason, the Lord prunes that out, but then that gives more space and energy and time to be able to devote something more towards, the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I think that when we experience those things, sure, we might, kind of begrudgingly say, all right, God, I'm open to that because we have to give up something that we really like, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to realize that the Lord's going to produce lasting, good, wholesome fruit in your life when he prunes things away.
Right.
Pruning can be ugly, pruning can be painful, but pruning always produces more fruit. So
right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it's in the obedience, right? It's not necessarily in the process, it's in the obedience. And so, obedience always precedes the process. Yeah. So you commit yourself to whatever it is that you need to fix in your life, whatever it is, or whatever God needs to do in your life. And then the process happens. And that's why some people sit around forever, never experiencing a change in a certain area or a change in their own life because they're still not willing to be obedient in what God's wanting them to start the process with. And so they sit there basically in stall mode or parked on the side of the road wondering why things aren't happening.
Yeah.
And, you can complain and say all you want that, the guard's not doing a good job, it's not doing the right thing. But the truth is you have to at least start the process with obedience. That's how it always starts. I mean, you could probably mention sitting here, how many people in the Bible that God's first interaction with somebody is a conversation on, are you willing to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I went through that list not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
With when I did the Joseph talk on Christmas Eve day. Here's Gideon, here's Moses, here's Abraham, every one of them.
Yeah.
Giants of the faith, right? Giants of the faith. Every one of them are like, I can't do it. Here's my excuse.
Right.
Joseph, no, not a single excuse.
Yeah.
Got up in the middle of the night, moved his family to Egypt to save their lives. He obeyed immediately.
Right.
Every single time. So most of the time we see people give an excuse or some
Oh, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of reason that they can't obey the Lord and
Especially
what he's calling
nowadays.
us to. Yeah.
And I think you're right. I mean, and if we're running out of time, but if we looked at the next part of that passage about 12 to 17, it talks about love being a major factor in the relationship. And I was wondering if you could read that. You got it up there.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
12 through 17.
And so here it goes. This is my commandment: love each other in the same way I have loved you. In the same way, that's the real key phrase there, right? There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I have no longer called you slaves, because the master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father has told me.
Yeah. So, I mean, we say that word a lot, but the love that Jesus is talking about is not just a love that says, like we're walking down the street, hey, man, I love you, It is the fact that it is a commitment. It's almost if you look at the word, I'm sure you've looked at it in the Greek, it's almost like a commitment, contract, love. It's a love that basically makes a commitment to them as their family, blood relative, blood relationship, that we're connected. And it goes along the lines with everything you talked about with the vines and the branches and all that stuff. It's a real commitment. And so when he's saying, my relationship with the Father is we're one. Your relationship with me as a branch of the vine, you want to be one. We should be one. And so what does that look like? I mean, what do we do to make that? And I think Hunter brought that out really well with his 3 points where he said we have to have this mindset of being connected. We have to be dependent on the vine, and we have to be consistent with the relationship.
Yeah.
I think those 3 things are very, very crucial to that whole idea of understanding what love is.
True.
Because anything outside of that is not going to work.
Right.
Right. Because if I'm not connected to Jesus, but I'm connected to the thought of Jesus or the church that I go to, that's what I'm connected to, then you're not going to produce anything. Right.
Right.
Because the relationship is about Jesus.
Right.
And the dependence is the same thing. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to be speaking here this weekend at a Harbor Light Christian School board retreat. And one of the things that we try to do at Harbor Light Christian School is to keep the spirituality, keep the water table of the Spirit super high in the school. And there's a lot of people, even in Christianity, that are disconnected from the local body of church.
Yeah.
The local body of Christ. And because of that, they're disconnected and they're not producing the fruit that could be. Just thinking if they are connected, then the body gets stronger.
Right. Yeah.
And when you're disconnected, you eventually dry up and die. That's what the passage is talking about.
Right.
So I believe that there's an important, dependence and connection to God through our own personal relationship, but it's also the public relationship with the body of Christ.
I think you're right on the money. I think one of the biggest lies of the devil right now is that the church does not need to exist.
Right.
That I can worship God on my own. I can just watch him on YouTube. I can find any way possible to worship him outside of that situation. But the church is Christ.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, folks. And I'm getting kind of sitting up straight in my,
here we go.
seat right now.
Pastor.
It says in the end times that there's going to be a great apostasy. There's going to be this great falling away, a great rebellion against God. And the church is going to get split right down the middle.
Yeah.
And I believe that we're on the precipice of that taking place, of that big separation. And right now, there's a famous Christian magazine out there, Christianity Today, and they wrote an article that said that Jesus really was a Palestinian Jew, and a couple other things that were, he's an Asian guy, all kinds of stuff. So, even our big
Korean Jesus,
even our big Christian foundational, companies and stuff like that are going to start venturing off the trail. And folks, you better be connected to the Word and be connected to a local church that preaches the Bible, believes the Bible, and sticks to the Bible.
Right. Yeah. I saw this TikTok or video of this guy saying it was either New Year's or it was Christmas. I can't remember which one. It was Christmas because he was talking about as we're celebrating, the birth of this dude, right? Just remember, and he was born in Bethlehem, which is in Palestine. So we're going to be celebrating a Palestinian.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know that was a thing until you just said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's blowing hot air.
Yeah,
but no, apparently it's a thing.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, if you're for Israel right now, you're a Zionist. And it's a negative thing now, right?
Go Jews.
Yeah. You're bad, and so it's just ridiculous. One of the things that I saw this last week, and I told my wife, I said, I'm getting one of those shirts. Right. It's a blue square, and it represents Israel.
Okay,
and the fight that they're having right now.
Okay,
trying to just hold what they have, and so the blue square is supposed to represent it. And it was put out by the government and people that are for Israel and associated with it. And I thought that was a really cool thing. But the interesting thing is the backlash from people that don't want Israel to exist. And they're trying to point that blue square to other propaganda that is bad. It's nothing to do with Israel. And it's just ridiculous. And so the whole thing is just moving in the wrong direction. But the church definitely needs to know what we need to know to be ready, and
stay connected.
Stay connected. And I think that if you start hearing anybody saying that I don't need church, or churches should not need to exist, we don't need to have churches, that's a lie of the devil.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
literally, that's a lie of the devil, because Jesus said in Ephesians chapter 4 and 5 that He is the church. And the church is Him. So when
He's
we're
the
together,
head, we're the body. We're all
together.
Yes.
And so when we have church, it's an example of who Jesus is in the world.
Yeah.
And so we need to get back to that. And there are a lot of people, I know there's house churches that, say, well, we don't need to have a, regular church service or regular being a part of another church or whatever. It just seems like it'd be a slippery slope moving in the wrong direction. And it's becoming more and more of a thing. And then you got, of course, all the deconstructionists to talk about out there. But I'll be the first one to be out there with my billboard. You should be in church.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. If you're going to, like you said, a Bible believing church, that's all that matters. And of course, we're not always going to get it right. But there's no one here creating a cult.
Right.
There's no one here putting themselves above Jesus.
Right.
And so if Jesus is high and lifted up and He's the center of everything, then you should be a part of a church,
Yes.
And I tell you, if you're looking for a good church to be a part of, Harbor Light definitely is. I mean, we've had our moments in history, whatever. We've had our bad times, good times, but we stuck together as a community. That's what family does, right? We accept
and stuck to God's word.
Yeah, we stuck to God's word, and we accepted, God's work in our lives, and it's not been something we're trying to be something that we're not. But
right.
But long legacy of that. Well, we got to cut it off here. Just good talk. Thanks, guys. It was good.
No problem.
Yeah, real good. And so, Pastor Gary, you're going to be talking about this chapter next week.
Yes, I'll be talking about this for the next 3 weeks, actually.
Yeah.
And it's broken out into 3 sections, and so we'll cover the 3 sections. But I do want to clarify that I gave the wrong reference to the trivia question. So it's in John chapter 15, not John chapter 17. So go to 15, find out what happens in the branches. I already read it to you. The answer has already been given to you. But listen in close, and then you can get the answer.
It's all good.
Yeah.
There you go.
You might find a word vine in there somewhere.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for us. We'll talk to you next week. Until then.
Arrivederci.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
That's good.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission. Now.